Hello, everyone. And yes, very excited to moderate this panel that titled From POC to Production, Accelerating AI to Market. I think this has been something we personally at Bryo as a startup building an AI for industrial sales have been struggling with over the last 2 years, figuring out how do we go from POC into production. Eventually figured it out, but I'm really excited to have this conversation with Natalia, that exactly global architecture lead in AI for BP. Then we have Jakob, that is responsible for capital market initiatives within Maersk and has been driving their AI initiatives in support functions. And Kristian, that you were introduced earlier, serial entrepreneur, founder of NMKR, and Masumi, a decentralized protocol empowering AI agents to collaborate seamlessly and monetize their services effectively, which is exactly where we're going to go into right now. First question. How is your company approaching the introduction of AI? And who's leading AI initiatives internally in particular? And what use cases are you prioritizing right now? Shall we start with Natalia?
Yeah, I can get started. I think I would want to kind of like come back and say when GenAI appeared, like things changed slightly. Before it was technologists who were bringing in stuff and saying, oh yeah, guys, you have this cool technology, please use, because we see a lot of potential. When GenAI appeared, we've seen the switch to this. Business users coming and saying, I've seen ChatGPT, it sounds like a cool technology. Can we do something with it? I don't know yet what, but let's do something. So adoption started like changing the way. So you would have more executives interested and bringing in this technology and saying, let's do something with it. The same as agents, we see a lot of people who have no idea about technology just come in saying, I think it looks cool. Let's try do something. So it was a mixed thing of practitioners coming and saying, like, we see a potential of this technology, and starting doing something, experimenting. A lot of people coming from different, like now AI is much bigger than it was like machine learning, and saying like, okay, let's try and see what's the potential, bring more stuff. But at the same time, a lot of executives recognizing it's something that can really change how we do the business, and bringing to the table saying like, okay, let's see what we can do with it. So like adoption changed, because before it was driven more like by technology, or like someone who was really into this coming with a PhD saying like it's something we have to use. Now it's more driven both sides, from top down and bottom up as well, and kind of meeting in the middle. So you don't have even like, you have center of excellence helping, but you have also executives saying like, okay, let's look in this direction and like, let's adopt it. So I think I answered half of the question, so I will give to other guys to also contribute.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Kristian, and I'm a filmmaker by heart. I worked in the film industry in Europe for more than a decade, and a couple of years ago I decided that I would like to find new ways of storytelling, and I did a deep dive into blockchain and AI. And what I see, and how we got from POC to deployment, is that a lot of filmmakers, a lot of my friends from back in the days, they are afraid of AI, right? They don't like what AI is doing to the arts. And that's when I came up with the idea of Masumi, that we create a network that is not doing anything in front of the camera, but optimizing everything behind the camera. And Masumi does that in a decentralized way. So everyone keeps their body of knowledge, and then they can collaborate. And we're going to deep dive into this later.
Yep, so Jakob from AP Moller Maersk. We, as you might know, are a global logistics company, ocean carrier, terminal operations, and also land-based transportation. And my specific area is the real estate portfolio on the land-based side. So you can imagine that all the senior management within Maersk does not really know anything of what I do, because they, by heart, are either logistics or ocean carriers mentality. What Maersk is, of course, doing is very similar to most organizations, have an AI initiative, an AI strategy. They want to be on top of this new technology, even though that you can say logistics is in a very old industry and all the legacy system. It's more than 100 years old company. But Maersk really wants to engage in this space. But given that the senior management is highly, or they are logistics professionals, they are ocean, they have a deep understanding of how to transfer goods or transport goods. All of their AI strategy, all of their AI initiatives is really focused, of course, on this space because that's what they know best. And what we are then trying to do is really how do we enable the rest of the organization with all the, Giovanni called that support functions, put all of the let's say, strategic workflows existing in a corporation. How do we enable AI, Gen AI, the workflows within these areas? So what we've been doing is using low-code platforms. We've implemented that and allowed that for the organization, more or less, or the ones who's not designated within the either tech procurement for external solutions or internal IT development. And while we acknowledge that the low-code platforms has a certain, lack in terms of generating product-ready code, product-ready solutions, they do provide this PoC very aggressively, very fast, and they can show proof of concept very quickly. And then you can decide, do we want to push it to production or use it internally, or what is really the next step? So that is really where Maersk is trying to do now. We take full advantage of AI within our logistics, digital twins, what have you, and how we try to embed Gen AI is really these low-code tools for all of the concerned employees, for all of the employees who just have an idea of this particular workflow, but would never get budget or IT time to develop this code.
Thank you. And so I hear on both sides of the big corporates, let's say, this bottom-up approach to implementing AI. Any use cases in particular that you would like to mention where you're focusing or that have been particularly successul?
I would mention, so obviously we say AI, but I'm sure half of the people when I say AI now think about Gen AI, LLMs, prompting, everything. There are some use cases which are really boring, and I think those ones are the most kind of successful and where you think a lot of documentation, something which was lying there for ages and ages, no one was interested to open and actually look what's happening there. So it's information extraction, processing of documents, making them organized. As I say, it doesn't sound sexy. It's not agents doing stuff. It's actually, it might be agents, but it's something that helps, especially big corporations with the history, to bring this and organize. And it was extremely difficult before this progress happened, like 2 years ago, because it would take you ages to train this specific name entity recognition or something system. So now you can just try and use LLM out of the box. So organizing documents, tagging them with information, making sure that your data is processed and cleaned at certain levels so you have data integrity. I think those ones, as I say, are extremely boring. No one wants to talk about them, but they are having a really good return on investment, and it's just realistically humanly impossible. So like you can have the whole team of people sitting in a really far away location and doing like for peanuts, but it's not nice for the people, and it's quite still costly for the company because like you might have documents from, I don't know, 100 years, some of them PDFs, some of them some pictures, like handwritten things, and that's where AI excels because it can do it just maybe not 100%, but like 90% accuracy and bring you something you can start working with. So I think that was really kind of like something empowering for many organizations.
Yeah. And are you also adopting an approach like, Jakob was mentioning, no-code tools and releasing them to the teams and seeing what they can do with them? Or do you have a more structured approach that starting from a business leader identifying a use case and then a project starting from there?
I think it depends like on how big is use case. If it's something like a small power automate workflow automation, like I think, yeah, go for it. But if we're talking about something that can affect the whole business unit and involve, I don't know, like 1,000 people, citizen developer tools will be limited in terms of like when we go to say like production, like how much governance you can bring, have around them, how reliable they are, how many people can collaborate like around the same solution. Like if it's like a beautiful UI and you have workflows, let's assume, I don't know, 5 people come to edit it. How would you see that this brand changed to something else? So it has really good applications for what you said, empowering people and saying, okay, it's a built-in PoC, seeing it's possible. But in some cases, like you will have to make decision then to go for more pro-code solution because it's just like a bit more structured, manageable, governed, and maybe your business process depends on this from now on. So you don't want to have someone calling you at night saying like your, I don't know, citizen developer flow just failed and no one knows how to fix it. So I think it's like all decisions you take in this situation and in the context.
And how does it work at BP? Does people approach you and ask for your advice, guidance on that?
So we have a central organization where you have people giving advice, obviously, but also a lot of organizations have their own technology, digital people who build and they can build independently. But obviously, as a central organization, we try then to build some foundations and to give back to people to say, don't start from scratch, talk to each other, don't work in silos. So I think it's something, what you said is great. We have different sizes of organizations here. And when it's enterprise, you have a lot of people doing stuff separately from each other. When it's like a smaller startup, maybe it's like kind of you have a closer links and you can work together. And it really depends on your organizational structure and where you are in terms of maturity.
Great. Let's go into more the PoC topic of. So what are you looking for in a PoC? And what does it take for you to decide to move forward towards production? Maybe Jakob, do you want to start?
I'll be happy to do. So, of course, my domain expertise within real estate, can you say it limits really my focus or my interest of PoCs. So the most obvious one is, of course, a better understanding of a leased portfolio. So Maersk has approximately 1,000 sites globally, and many of them are leased. And we, of course, today have an existing platform with an external software provider to help us review the leases, to organize that data. But what, of course, you also see is that when you have a global company with multiple languages, multiple ways, even though the lease agreement is perhaps one of the most standardized pieces of legal documents globally, I would say, there's still nuances quite a lot of it, even though, and multiple languages. So even the existing portfolio that we have today, or the existing data platform we have today, with all that data, there is errors, and there's continued need for updates when things improve. That was really the beginning. So how can we really use the generative tool to help us to fully understand extracting key pieces of data from a lease agreement? Today, you would find plentiful of startups delivering that service. They will also be able to help you to semantically understand core components of a legal document. You see Hebia, Fifth Dimension. There's a lot of providers now which are really excellent. But and we've done so. That was really the key for us to understand. So that is currently one of our tools that we use on a daily basis, reviewing leases through a low-code. I acknowledge the challenges. The low-code platform, the low-code workflows that we are doing, assisting and understanding, speak with your lease, essentially. The next step is, of course, how can we then use that? Because one of the key components in a lease is, of course, when does it expire? Because that is really difficult to precisely state. Sometimes you need to give notice, sometimes you don't, sometimes it just expires, sometimes it automatically renews. And that could be captured by generative platform or the models today. Next step is really the adjacency. Of course, you want some assistant to know what's in your lease, perhaps even compare some of the cost element across your portfolio, across your selected area, Germany. We have a number of sites in Germany. We really would like to know what is the cost for insurance on each of the sites we have there. So our consideration is really to begin with, how can we ensure that data becomes better? Next, what I would say is how can we use that data to improve our operation? So today it's mostly a cost, let's say, focus. How can we get better data to reduce cost? But going forward, I think we need to be a bit more creative. How would this transform the way we do real estate in a global function, in a global company like Maersk? We're still undecided, but I'm quite sure that many of the things that we're working on today in terms of cost, that would be almost a given in 5 years, that we would have an agent who just continuously review the invoices, compare that to the leases, compare that to our strategy. Do we want to have so many open sites in Germany, in France, in the US, in Chile? And language would not become a barrier. So I think that's the way we are progressing. And again, our production understanding, at least in this little piece of Maersk, is still that low code, and you can come quite far. And when we then decide that it needs to be a much more embedded part of Maersk, then of course it would be part of the development, IT development plan.
Yeah. So you can get quite far in adoption as well, like in the day-to-day, by using the tools that you also were leveraging on for the POCs themselves. So you go POC to production with the same tool in these specific use cases that you were mentioning.
Exactly. Just to finish up. Exactly, because our production audience is probably no more than 30, 40 people. It's different if it needs to be, to cater all the BP customers. It would be a completely different, let's say, way of requirement for quality.
Yeah, so Natalia said,
I will be brief, so I know we have quite a few interesting questions we can do. Does deliver value, and does have return investment, which means do we spend less money to build, and how it compares to what we generate or save or something. So because some solutions are technically possible, but they're really complex and they're really expensive. And sometimes when you have, 5 people are going to use it, like you won't have your value back. So I think that's the decision whether you invest more to make it production ready, something that we can rely for a long time in a business process. And for me, production means there are people using it with the real data, and some business process depends on it. So it's not like something with a subset of data. And obviously, decision also will be, is compliance regulation okay about using and having this use case? And do we have data? Because sometimes we do POC with the subset and say, oh, it looks really great, but then you go and you see actually the production data is not there, or it's not clean, or I don't know, people are not ready. So I think those are the things to think.
And are you trying to harmonize the tools that are going to be adopted across the different business units, or are you fine with the notion of each business unit finding a tool that caters to their need and
it's a
going
balance.
into production?
No, so there is a governance at the level of the company that doesn't allow you to bring everything you want, and there is a process to see that whatever is brought to the company is kind of governed properly. So there is a review to bring a new platform, and there is a strategy to say there are 3, 4, 5 platforms where you can build stuff and where you have citizen solutions, because I don't know, I'm sure, and we had this discussion even yesterday, there are so many new startups. So if you completely open and say everyone can bring their own startup, at some point you will have a legacy of, I don't know, thousands of different AI solutions. And I think maybe it works when it's a startup, a small company, and you talk about, we'll have 20 solutions. But if it's like a huge enterprise and you will end up with 2,000, they come with a cost, legal, so it's like additional complexity, which is really difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you screen those startups? Or?
Yeah, so we have every single solution which brings AI features is being checked for how they do it, whether it's done responsibly, whether technologically, like we're okay about like which models are used with Gen AI specifically, whether they have good processes as a part of EU regulation. We also are responsible as users to have a sanity check, whatever tool we are bringing to our customers, to our operations, that we had some due diligence to check that it actually works. So we didn't like just buy it. We actually tried to open the box, see what is inside. So if something happens, we can say, you know, we did our best to check, but obviously it's not always easy, but yeah, every single thing goes through a process.
Yeah. So moving into the productionization, let's say, of these tools, what are the biggest challenges you've faced in system integration and user adoption, and how have you been addressing them?
So I will be brief. I want Kristian also to contribute. I'm sure he has seen some. So in user adoption, I think people coming, what we said, we had a wave of people interested in technology, but not knowing exactly what they want to get from it. And then what happened was a lot of POCs died because they didn't have a value across. So it's not like people said, I have a problem and I want to solve it. It was more, there is a technology, let's find a problem we can solve. And then this was a bit of a problem. So I think now it's an approach more, let's find the problems and see what are the solutions. LLMs, Gen AI agents might be a solution, but it might be data engineering or just data. So I think that was happening with some POCs. They just died because there was no adoption. There was no need for them, actually. And in terms of integration, we can come back data. So it's a boring topic, again, but data not being clean enough, not being in a good shape, not being complete, and we are not AI first, we're not data first organizations. I met some companies, people like, we're AI first organization, meaning like we were founded 2 years ago, so we thought about it. So we organized all the data, so we have a lot of legacy data coming from different streams, and not always we can affect how it's been collected, because it's a lot of partners. And then I'm sure in logistics you have like a lot of partners and you can clean your estate, but then others bring you whatever. So there are these limitations that sometimes you can't overcome. I think data was like the biggest hurdle stopping.
Yeah. And maybe this is a good segue for Kristian. What is your experience when it comes to, you know, giving companies the data security they're looking for? And
you put it right. It's the key thing for Masumi is always input and output. So what is the customer, the corporate, whoever's using Masumi, what is the input, what is the ask, and what does the agent give back? And by locking this on blockchain technology, we have the solution that if there is a dispute, if the output is not what was expected and the money is paid for the service, then we can go into the data and we can say, okay, this is what happened. And then we can iterate. And how to come to adoption, it's all about finding a playing ground and finding an area of expertise where we can do that. And this is why I decided, okay, now we're going to build a film studio on top of Masumi, where I know exactly we have those 50 departments, those 500 people in those 50 departments, and what are the pain points, the problems, right? And it's always, in filmmaking, the problem that it's raining and we need sunshine. Okay, we have to reschedule. And then all those head of departments have to talk to each other, and they all have their body of knowledge, and they have to collaborate. And to organize that with 50 people, 50 different AI agents, and then to orchestrate that, that's one of the biggest challenges at the moment. And we're doing that step by step in an area where we have expertise, and then we scale it up to other areas of businesses.
Just to echo what has already been said, but I think we're also noticing that we are increasing the demand or the requirement to data. So we simply want more data. You typically, or historically, we've been fine with an address of a certain lease, and now, of course, we want the entirety of what a legal contract or the demand for data, which we, of course, can use in AI going forward, has also increased. So it's a bit of a increased. Coming back to what we imagined 5 years ago we could do, is completely different of what we can imagine we can do today, and that's also why our requirement to what kind of data we want and what the quality of data has become it's increased significantly for the good, I'd say.
So I'm worried we just have 4 minutes. So what is the one advice that you would have for your AI partners, whether it's startups or, I don't know, system integrators, that you would give to go into production faster?
Like startup rules, start with a problem and not with a solution. So if you have a problem in your area of expertise, build an AI solution that solves this problem. And once you have done that and it's useful for your business, then most likely it's going to be useful for other businesses as well.
Okay, thanks. Probably my thinking from the low-code platforms is certainly perhaps focus, because if you deliver a easy-to-use tool to your organization and people start using it, perhaps in the daily, trying to build up these workflows, but it's not a core, of what they do on a daily basis. So they do it perhaps as part of their weekly routine. You want to make sure that they set certain specific targets, dates for what a production-ready application needs to be there. Otherwise, you should really evaluate whether or not it's important enough, that particular workflow that you're working on, if you can't even realize it, if you can't even finish it, complete it to your own benefit, I'd say. So that's certainly keep the focus clear on what you want to do, and then experiment. Experiment all the time. Use all the tools every time.
I will just add, I think it's a good idea to think upfront about some governance, or what you're going to do if it kind of shoots to the moon and it's successful. Just like thinking upfront sometimes really helps. And then once you reach some maturity, start to think in the foundations and if there are some synergies, so that not to have this situation we just talked, like you would have 1 million different solutions which do pretty much the same stuff, but they've never heard of each other, just trying to have this landscape view and going from time to time and just saying, like, talk to each other. Maybe you don't need to have 5 platforms. Maybe we need just to have one. Not always is possible because of the business restrictions, geography, speed of delivery, and financial boundaries. But it's always good to have those people talking, even if they don't become one system, but at least they have talking points and they help each other.
Great. I think we're finished with this panel, and thank you very much for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you.